right, well, let's talk about more Premier League teams, right? Specifically, Arsenal, they drew with Liverpool in Premier League action yesterday. Here's a look at some of the back pages in England. Sigh of the storm. If we have a look at the Premier League standings, well, Arsenal still very much in control ahead of the likes of Manchester City and Aston Villa, 6 points clear of them. But as we know, we all have our eyes on Arsenal to see if they can hold their nerve to the end of the season. Let's welcome in our Julien Laurens for this one. Jules, we know how close you are with Arsenal after the 0-0 draw with Liverpool. Are you cool with that result?
I was at the game, Alexis, and to be fair, I agree with some of the headlines that we've just showed. It was not the most entertaining game. Usually on the show we say it was very tactical, which it was. It was cagey. You have to look at the Liverpool game plan, obviously, going into this game. And the fact that with Wirtz as a false number 9, Gakpo on the left, Frimpong on the right, and that midfield very narrow, out of possession with Gravenberch and McAllister and Szoboszlai and Wirtz, they basically nullify the creativity. Arsenal point of view, they let the ball to Gabriel and Saliba, who, by the way, are the two Arsenal players with the most passes in the last third of the pitch on Thursday night, which is crazy because if you're Arsenal, you don't want Gabriel and Saliba to have the ball in the last third of the pitch and try to find the creativity with them. So the plan from a Liverpool point of view to give nothing to Arsenal attacking-wise worked perfectly. The problem if you do that when you're Liverpool is that yourself don't have much creativity, and that's the problem. For the first time, I think, in over 10 years, Liverpool had 0 shot on target in a Premier League game, which, again, is so rare that it was very significant.
Shaka, your thoughts on the game as well, because on paper it read to be a blockbuster, but were you left unimpressed as well?
I thought it read for an Arsenal win, in all honesty. Listen, we saw these two meet at Anfield very early on in the season. Soboszlai screamer was the difference then, but I thought Arsenal have grown since that game, and you can make the argument that Liverpool have regressed. And now in London, I thought this was Arsenal's game to win, especially when you see earlier in the weekend, both City draw and Aston Villa draw. You think that this is an opportunity for Arsenal. So to see the game kind of play out as dully as it did, and to Jules' point, you kind of understand, or you want to sympathise with Liverpool's approach in that I don't think Liverpool are anywhere near as good a football team as Arsenal. I would have loved to see more from Arsenal in that regard, given everything at stake. Had they won 3 points, I think we'd all be kind of declaring the title race over. No, it still feels as though there's an opportunity. Arsenal still asks to lose, but it feels as though there's an opportunity for City and quite possibly still for Villa. So that for me was a little bit of a disappointment. Had it played out differently, had Arsenal drawn on Friday night, let's say, and then you see City and Villa draw later on in the weekend, it feels a whole lot differently than it does right now. I just feel it's a real opportunity dropped by Arsenal, and psychologically that would have been a tough pill for Arteta to swallow.
Jules, the boys on the show yesterday were pretty critical of Gyökeres and wanted to see more from him, but also our Frank Leboeuf said that, look, Arsenal just don't set up to really help a striker like him. What did you make of his performance?
Yeah, I agree, I think, with what the boys said last night. I've been watching him a lot this season. We saw him a lot last season. I think it's quite difficult to adapt to the Premier League when you come from the Portuguese league. No offense to Sporting, they were a great team under Amorim, especially in the last 18 months that he worked with Gyökeres. He did an amazing job. Gyökeres scored a lot of goals. But when in Portugal, you've got the time to take your first touch, for example, towards the goal and then find a shot that beats the keeper. In England, we've often seen Gyökeres, by the time he takes the shot, the centre-back has come across or the goalkeeper make that save. It's harder to score here than it is in Portugal, obviously. And I think sometimes you also realise that this Arsenal team now has been built under Mikel Arteta without a traditional number 9. We said it often on the show. I'm not trying to defend Gyökeres here because I think he still should do more. Yesterday, there's a couple of moments where it's not a clear run that he makes. There's space there, either onto the half space or in behind, and he doesn't really make the run like he should do. However, it is true that this team has played more than not with the false number 9, whether that's Havertz, whether that's Gabriel Jesus, that play very differently to the number 9, really more traditional that Gyökeres is. So the ball goes wide a lot, there are crosses sometimes, but you don't look at that, you look at all those little passes, Odegaard to Saka, Saka to Odegaard to Rice, Rice to Trossard, the ball comes back, and Gyökeres is there, but there's nothing really for him to do, really. So I think it's difficult. There's times I watch this team and I think this is not a team for a traditional number 9. I think he will get better. They will get used to him. He will get used to the way the team is playing. But for now, it's probably a little bit underwhelming.
Right, well, a certain Gabriel Martinelli has had to apologize after being involved in an incident with Conor Bradley that really left a bad taste in all our mouths. Shaka, Conor Bradley went down with an injury, which we know now was a bit more serious than Martinelli thought. You will see right here. I think he just thought because it was in the dying moments of the game, he thought that he was time wasting. So
don't try to excuse it. I thought this was absolutely awful from Martinelli. I honestly, I'm watching this game and I cannot believe what I am seeing. It's safe to say, had this been back in our day, this would not have finished on the touchline. This would have spilled out into the tunnel well after the game was finished. That being said, just purely from a footballer perspective, on the park, somebody goes down. We all have to deal with injuries, serious, minor, everything in between. No injury, nothing that's at stake warrants the response of Gabriel Martinelli there. And I found it absolutely, I cannot understate how disgusted by it I found it. Now, the injury to Bradley, as it turns out, is even worse than anybody first thought. That is not an excuse for Martinelli's reaction. But it just makes it so much more distasteful to see that. And now you have to come out and apologize on social media. What value is that? What value is that to react to a fellow professional in the way that you did? Now you come out on social media and that's supposed to make it all right. I'm sorry. He's fortunate just to get a yellow card for it. As I say, both officially and unofficially, I thought it warranted a whole lot more.
You know you've messed up when you get the disgusted Shaka Hislop voice. But Jules, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think Shaka is right. Martinelli made a mistake. It can happen in the heat of the moment. I think the tension was really high in those last minutes of the game. He went straight to the dressing room to apologize to Conor Bradley in person, even before the social media apologies. I think he realized pretty quickly that he should have behaved differently than he did. You can understand the Szoboszlai reaction, and I thought Szoboszlai was good in the post-match interview that he gave as well, talking about the health of the players, because this is the most important really here. And I think he made a mistake, realized it very, very quickly, and I think he would apologize in public and in private.